The victim had a choice. She could have left. I wish she would have.
This is the moment a 64-year-old man claimed his 7-year-old granddaughter had a choice when he
I just want to make sure I understand what you said correctly. Did you say the victim could have left?
Okay, she could have left anytime she wanted. I never forced her to do anything she did not want to do.
This is a parole hearing for Donald Stevens, who has spent 8 years in prison, but still doesn't see what he has done wrong.
What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to my channel. How are you guys doing? If you guys are brand new here to the channel, you guys don't know what we do, don't worry. I'm gonna break it down for you guys, man. We talk about the most scariest and creepiest videos on the net, on the web, from YouTube videos to TikTok videos, IG videos, Facebook. Anything weird, unusual, unexplained, you can find right here on this channel. I just want to thank all my supporters, man, who's coming to the channel each and every single day, watching the videos entirely, man, commenting down below. I greatly appreciate the support. Found this video for you guys today, man. Let's do what we do best, seekers. Say it with y'all. Y'all know what we do. Seek the truth.
Normal looking photos that have a disturbing backstory, part 5. The man who took this photo of his wife scuba diving off the Australian coast also managed to take a photo of Tina Watson, who was drowned by her husband that day in 2003. Dutch teenager Gary Slock and his mother Petra posted this photo to Facebook moments before their plane was shot down by Russians, killing all 298 people aboard. This is the last photo ever taken of 18-year-old Jolie Callan, who after this photo was taken was shot twice in the head and pushed off of the cliff by her ex-boyfriend. While this may seem like a normal family photo, just below the wife is a rattlesnake about to strike her arm. She was bitten and survived, but the dog died. Guys, make sure to go follow my Instagram at JackHNeil. For the next 24 hours, I'll be following every single person back.
That rattlesnake was crazy. I didn't even see it.
Scary facts you wish you never knew. Olivia Farnsworth was 7 years old when she got hit by a car. She was then dragged 100 feet and felt nothing. This is because she's the only person in the world diagnosed with chromosome 6 deletion, which means she doesn't feel pain, hunger, or the need to sleep. This is a Buddha monk in Thailand. He's 109 years old. He was born in 1913. Only 1% of people can do this. None of you can completely spell your name one word at a time in the comments without being interrupted. Let's see who wins first this time. This watermelon tastes like your mama's booty. This isn't scary, but it's scary fast. In 1945, the US government injected 18 people with dangerous radioactive plutonium. Oh, and they did it without them knowing, just to see how their bodies would react. They ended up not admitting this until 1995. It was announced the day of the O.J. Simpson trial, so that it wouldn't receive any media attention. Makes you wonder what else the government has done secretly and hasn't decided to tell us yet, until another distraction comes. Now you can check if your phone activity is being monitored. Just click share, slide to the very end, click more, and if any unknown apps appear before your contacts, you should delete them immediately. In 2012, Anthony Hansley was kayaking in Illinois when a swan came and attacked him and became very aggressive. He fell out the kayak and decided to swim to shore, but the swan kept attacking him while he was swimming, causing him to sadly drown. If you like and follow my page, you'll become smarter every day.
These are 5 rare children with real superpowers. 1. This is Ben Underwood. He was born in California on January 26, 1992, and seemed like a very healthy child. But sometime later, his mother noticed a strange shine in his right eye. However, the boy showed no signs of vision problems. Shortly after, a medical examination determined that he had cancer in his eyes, and there was no other option but to remove them to save his life. As expected, Ben's world changed completely from that moment on. Completely blind from such an early age, he began to develop a process in which his ears acquired a special sensitivity, learning to identify objects through sound. This ability is known as echolocation and is highly developed in animals like bats, but very few cases have occurred among humans. He makes clicking noises with his tongue, which, when hitting objects around him, produce an echo. He is able to hear the echo and determine what the object is, how far away it is, and even what material it is made of. Thanks to this auditory vision, he was able to do activities like running without getting lost, playing basketball, riding a bike, playing video games, surfing, fighting opponents, and practicing martial arts. Without a doubt, he is a true superhero with real superpowers.
This is the terrifying image of a woman cowering on her rooftop, trying to escape an intruder when he pops up behind her. What happened to this woman is like something off a horror film. It was September 2014 and Melora Rivera was at her home in California. Unfortunately for her though, she was not home alone on the day in question, although she was initially unaware of this. Melora worked as an actress and actually had a part in the Whitney Houston film Sparkle. She was in her bed when she noticed somebody in her property. He had apparently broken a panel to reach inside and unlock one of the doors. Terrified, the woman tried to escape onto the roof to alert authorities. She managed to balance up on the roof and ring 911 before, terrifyingly, he jumped up and appeared behind her. This image was captured by a passerby. Thankfully, police arrived on the scene and the man was arrested. He was identified as 29-year-old Christian Hicks. He was swiftly arrested and the woman was rescued off the roof by the fire brigade.
That's a sad story. She had to hide up on a roof, man, because a fan got obsessed with her. Dark side of fame.
Did you hear about the janitor who peed inside his coworker's water bottle and infected everyone with STDs? Imagine this, you clock into work every morning and fill up your bottle using the water dispenser at the office. But little do you know, you're actually drinking someone's urine. This all happened in Houston when employees at a medical office began noticing that the water dispenser had a sour taste and smell to it. This weird taste and smell was going on for days, and mind you, people were still drinking this water despite the nasty smell and taste. But one employee decided that she was done drinking this water and instead she began bringing her own water from home. Of course, there were days she didn't finish all her water and left the bottle in her office overnight and then drank it the next day. But it wasn't long until this employee began noticing that the water she brought from home also began having a disgusting smell and taste. She finally decided to do something about this when her co-worker offered to make her a coffee and used the water from her bottle, and they noticed that it smelled like urine. So at this point, these two employees spoke to the doctor at the facility and they agreed to do a urine test on the water dispenser, and it came back positive. Now that they knew someone was urinating in the water dispenser, they wanted to find out who this psychopath was, so they set up a hidden camera in the office, and you won't believe what they saw. They caught the janitor, 53-year-old Lucio Diaz, unzip his pants, put his thing inside the bottle, and urinate inside. He then put the cap back on the bottle and returned it to the same spot it was. The employees went straight to the police, and when Lucio was questioned, he admitted to everything and said that he did it out of malicious intent. But this horror story doesn't even end there, because Lucio then told police that he had a sickness. When police asked him to elaborate, he told them that he had STDs and chlamydia. 13 employees had a panel of STD tests performed a few days later, which came back positive for herpes, which is something they never had. This evil man was charged with aggravated assault with a deadly weapon, but he was only sentenced to 6 years in prison.
Let's talk about
6 years? Nah, that ain't enough, man. After what he just said, not enough.
serial killers that got caught for being stupid. Today I want to talk about the alleged Long Island serial killer who was caught in a way that's kind of similar to Bryan Kohberger. And a reminder that if you have a dark curiosity, you'll love the podcast. So Rex Heuermann was just arrested for allegedly being the Long Island serial killer, who went undetected in Long Island for 12 years, killing women, a man, and a toddler. Rex was a successful architect with a family and a normal life, so how did he get caught? Well, in 2010, a Chevrolet was found parked outside of a victim's home, the type of car that Rex also owned, which is what put him on police's radar. Years went by, nothing happened, but last year a new detective reopened the case and got a warrant to search his home. So police knew that throughout the years, a burner phone was being used to contact and torment victims and their families. And once they got a hold of Rex's cell phone, they realized that it had been pinging at the same time and place as the burner phone. And if that's not enough, police also got access to his search history, which showed that he had been obsessively searching for the victims and their families for years. It was believed he was trying to get information on how to contact the families today. His specific adult video preferences were also exposed, which I can't talk about here. It's just the worst thing I've ever read. And finally, what did Rex in, which is what did Kohberger in, was a police officer was able to get DNA off a half-eaten piece of pizza in his garbage can, and it matched DNA that was found on a victim. This is all still just alleged, but this evidence looks really damning.
Gruesome facts you didn't know, part 178. After being removed from the body, a normal heart can continue to beat for around 60 seconds. A heart removed from a heavy cocaine user can continue to pulsate for up to 25 minutes. Once clinical symptoms appear, rabies is 100% fatal. Haj Mohammed Mesfui was a Moroccan serial killer who murdered at least 36 women. Due to the heinous nature of his crimes, he was sentenced to immurement, sealed in an enclosed space until death.
Ooh.
I heard in some parts of Australia, yeah, I know Australia, they warn you never to get water from the same spot more than twice in a row. Because crocodiles have a brain in a weight class of a walnut, but they're smart enough to hunt in a group, set up traps, and recognize patterns, which means they can memorize the routines of animals around them, and if you get too predictable about your daily, they'll take note and turn you into a statistic the next chance they get. The statistic is, crocodiles murk an estimated 1,000 people a year, and there's a reason it's an estimate. If a lion or tiger starts eating humans, it's usually because there's something wrong with them, and they typically get caught soon after. When a prehistoric sledgehammer life deprives a person, it's cause he was hungry. Crocodiles are one of the few animals alive that, if they don't actively hunt humans, they do not discriminate. Problem is, a lot of crocs can go over a year without eating, and since they'll spend most of it cosplaying as a log, crocs are arguably the most difficult animal to catch when they do become man-eaters. They can live for a century if their luck's right. Gustav allegedly took 300 people off the census. I don't know about the number, but to this day, there's no proof that he was ever caught, especially since those pits are sensors that can detect the smallest disturbance in water, which means a 20-foot assault gecko can clock your exact location before you even realize you're sharing the water. And with the splashing of playing children being exactly like the disturbances of struggling prey, crocodiles are a major threat to minor safety. And now you see how Lucifer's leather lapdog ran circles around dinosaurs. Now add that nature gave Satan's belt the strongest recorded bite force of any animal at almost 4,000 pounds. Oh, also, some of them can run, and some can climb, the more you know.
Nah, when that alligator was running, bro, that's pure nightmare fuel, bro. Imagine an alligator running at you, man. I'll turn into the Flash, I'm out. You ain't catching me.
Imagine living your entire life and then finding out that the people that raised you are actually your kidnappers. You were kidnapped as a baby right out of the hospital, and this all finally comes out 17 years later because of a selfie that you took with one of your friends. In 1997 in Cape Town, South Africa, Murnay and Celeste Nurse were pregnant with their first baby. The couple was young, they were only like 18 years old, but they were so excited to have their little baby girl. And then on April 28th, 1997, Murnay and Celeste welcomed their little baby girl, Zephanie, into the world. Celeste had a C-section, so there was a little bit of extra recovery. She was still in the hospital 2 days after giving birth. Celeste was on all of this pain medication. It made her super drowsy, so on April 30th, with her newborn daughter sleeping in the cot next to her, Celeste fell asleep just for a quick little nap, only to be woken up a little while later with a nurse standing over her, frantically asking her, "Where is your baby?" Someone had come in and kidnapped her 2-day-old daughter, Zephanie, right out of her hospital room. Celeste told the police that the last thing that she remembered before she fell asleep was a nurse coming into her room and telling her that she should get some rest. But as Celeste described this nurse, none of the other staff recognized this description.
Inmates used AC vents to conceive a baby without ever meeting in person. 29-year-old Daisy Link and 24-year-old Joanne DeBuz are facing separate murder charges and are staying at the same prison. While they were both awaiting trial, they began communicating with each other through the air conditioning vents in their cells. Despite the unusual circumstances, they formed a close bond. During one of these air vent conversations, Joanne told Daisy that he always had a desire to have a child, but since he was incarcerated, this may never happen. He then told Daisy that if he ever had the choice, he would choose her to be the mother of his child. Before long, the two had developed a plan to conceive. They came up with this plan that they were going to use the same air vent system that they used to communicate. Over the course of a month, Joanne would carefully wrap his in plastic wrap about 5 times a day and roll it just like a cigarette. He would put it through the air vent system, and once it reached Daisy's cell, she would carefully take it out. Once it reached Daisy, she used an applicator to insert the fluid inside of her body. After a few attempts, Daisy found out she was pregnant. In December of 2023, Daisy called her family with the great news that she was pregnant, and she told them that she had originally asked staff for a pregnancy test back in November, but they were ignoring her request until December. On June 19th of this year,
The victim had a choice. She could have left. I wish she would have.
This is the moment a 64-year-old man claimed his 7-year-old granddaughter had a choice when he abused her for 3 years.
And sir, I just want to make sure I understand what you said correctly. Did you say the victim could have left?
Okay, she could have left anytime she wanted. I never forced her to do anything she did not want to do.
This is a parole hearing for Donald Stevens, who has spent 8 years in prison, but still doesn't see what he has done wrong.
Hopefully that'll never happen again. I gotta say hopefully because there's no guarantee on anything. You can't guarantee that this building's not gonna fall down tomorrow. You can't guarantee that. So there's no guarantee on anything. But I can promise you 99 and 9/10% It will never, never happen again.
He did unspeakable things to a 7-year-old, but cannot guarantee it will not happen again. This is what the victim had to say.
You probably remember me as a little girl that was left silent because I didn't want to face you. I still have nightmares even as an adult now. I never understood why I stayed silent for so long, but now I do. I stayed silent because I thought others would judge me. I stayed silent because I thought I didn't have a voice. I fought for years. I once thought to just give up because you would never leave my head. You ruined my childhood. Everyone always talks about how great theirs was, and I couldn't even remember mine. For years I thought my body wasn't my own, but that was not the truth. Flash forward to today, I'm still healing that childhood I never had through my son. This pain will never go away. I no longer see myself as a victim. I am a survivor, and I will never be at peace.
Fortunately, the parole board rejected his application for parole, and he has to wait another 10 years before he can apply again.
I still can't get over
him saying, I don't know if it would happen again. That... It just sounded like a demon right there when he said that. I don't know if it's gonna happen again. Like, what? That's what you say?
the fact that this woman was released from prison after she drugged her little sister, gave her to her husband so he can escape her and take her life. Paul Bernardo and Carla Hamalka were called the Barbie and Ken killers and committed one of the most horrific crimes together. They tore and took the lives of these 3 innocent young teens in the early 90s. 15-year-old Kristen French was one of their victims. She was abducted in a church parking lot while Carla pretended to ask her for directions. Paul forced her into their car. In another case, 14-year-old Leslie Mahaffey was abducted while she waited outside of her house. This was Carla's younger sister, Tammy, and one day Paul told Carla that he wanted her, so she drugged her sister and gave her to Paul to do whatever he wants with her. The girls were tortured for days and disgusting things were done to them while they videotaped everything. Together, they dismembered their bodies and then threw them in the lake. Now, while Paul got life in prison, Carla was able to walk free after 12 years. But not only that, after her release, she changed her name and she was caught working at a private elementary school in Montreal. Her job was to supervise kindergarten students, and when their parents found out, they were pissed off. And I don't blame them, because I wouldn't want this person looking after my children either. This was one of the biggest cases in the world, especially in Canada, because of how disturbing their crimes were. People are still confused on how Carla was able to get such a good deal while Paul was denied parole 3 times and will most likely spend the rest of his life in prison.
What locals did to this man's family was pure evil. This was the real-life Pennywise. In 1954, Victor Lane was a kind clown performing at the Black Hollow Carnival. As a child, he lost his family in a mysterious fire. Locals called it an accident, but Victor overheard men laughing about how the freaks got what they deserved. Despite the pain, he became a clown to spread joy, but the town never accepted him. They mocked him as Creepy Smiley. One October night, a group of boys set his tent on fire during a show. His face was badly burned, and as he fled into the woods, the crowd laughed. Then, the town changed. Children vanished. Red balloons appeared at doorsteps. The mayor's son disappeared after a balloon was tied to his mailbox. What happens next will terrify you, but remember, I can only protect my followers who comment their names. A search party found an abandoned shack with carnival props, burned family photos, and a mirror etched with "Who's laughing now?" But Victor was gone. Now, every October, red balloons reappear. A warning, a reminder, and each year, someone vanishes.
Pennywise Origins? Maybe that was an untold origins, man, that we just heard. That's what I think. This went down.
This is part 2 of what went on during the Habersham County press conference on Debbie Collier this morning. I highly suggest you go to the other video that I just made so that you can hear all the other details as well. So the most crazy information that they did give during this press conference was that Amanda did speak to Debbie on the phone that afternoon. Though he does not have the exact time on it. But whenever somebody asked if Amanda would give any indication on why she was going to the Family Dollar store, the police officer said that Amanda said that Debbie was going to the Family Dollar to buy supplies to clean Amanda's house. This raises so many questions for me because, I mean, first, why would you drive 90 minutes north to go to a Family Dollar to buy cleaning supplies when there's all these stops along the way and near her house to be able to get the same supplies? And
the weirdest thing, none of that supplies is used to clean a house. I mean, paper towels, yeah, sure, but a torch, a poncho, a tarp, what would that be used for to clean a house? And coincidentally, all that supplies was found at the murder scene. They also confirmed that Amanda was living in Maryland with her brother, and she moved back down on the 8th of September. And remember, Steve lets Amanda live in the rental house off and on, basically whenever Amanda needs somewhere to stay. It was also confirmed that Steve was working from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. parking vehicles for the football game that was going on, and they have all of it on CCTV, so it's very unlikely that he's involved. So Amanda spoke to Debbie that afternoon. She got the Venmo transaction at 3:17, and then she waited a whole 3 hours to contact the police and file a missing persons report. And we don't know if Amanda tried to call her mom or anything between the Venmo transaction and when the police report was filed. That was pretty much the extent of the information that they gave. The detective did mention that this is not a sprint and that they're going to take their time on this to be able to get all the information correct, which honestly I respect. Like, get all the information and then do what you need to do. Especially so whenever someone's found, court is smooth and there's no question or anything, to not be able to give this person the maximum punishment. One more thing is that they did mention that the autopsy is not completed yet. They have not received the report, and that the medical examiners gave them a 6-week time frame, likely because they're waiting on that toxicology report to come back. So let me know what you guys are thinking. They did say that they will do another press conference as soon as they get the autopsy report back, and hopefully by then they have more information. I think it's interesting that no one has been ruled out yet. And I will be super interested to see the timeline that they come up with whenever they get all the access to the phones. It's not really looking good though for Miss Bearden.
Kimberly Schreiber waited 5 decades to know who killed her sister Barbara and Barbara's best friend, Darlene Zetterauer. Broward Sheriff's detectives say the 2 teenagers got into a white van near Sterling Road in Hollywood on June 18, 1975, and were never seen alive again. The next day, their bodies were found murdered near the Everglades. BSO tried repeatedly to solve the crime by processing evidence found at the scene, but they say it wasn't until advanced DNA technology made a match that, along with new eyewitness statements, brought detectives to Robert Clark Keebler and Lawrence Stein.
We compared it to a sibling of the second suspect, and in doing so, 18 months after the original partial profile, we were able to positively identify Lawrence Stein as being the second defendant involved in these murders.
Both men are now dead, having spent most of their lives in and out of prison. Closing the case brings back a flood of memories for Kimberly, who was only 5 years old when Barbara was killed.
She could have been anything. She was smart. She was kind.
That's crazy, man. She had to wait 5 decades to see justice get done. But it came to her, man.
Alabama man arrested after his girlfriend's remains are found in the trunk of her car. Now this happened in Birmingham, Alabama. Cedric Robertson behind me has been arrested on suspicion of killing his girlfriend Nikita Davidson. She is also a mother of 4, and he drove off in her own car. Nikita Davidson was reported missing April 11th at 1 a.m. Officers responded to a 2-vehicle collision an hour later. They then found evidence of a violent crime and investigated. From the evidence they gathered, they suspected that Robertson ran into Nikita Davidson's vehicle on purpose, shot her in the back of the head, and then put her in the trunk of her own car and drove off with her car. Apparently, in 2008, he did the exact same thing. He shot a woman and then put her in the back of the trunk and drove off. On April 12th, about 24 hours after she was missing, that's when they found her remains in the trunk of her car. Robertson is now being held in the county jail on charges of capital murder. He's also being charged with kidnapping and failure to appear. This is such a sad story, especially for the kids. Let me know what you guys think about this in the comment section below. And as always, these videos are for informational purposes only.
Tell me what you think might be wrong with this picture. The picture behind me was captured in 2019 by a real estate agent who was doing a sweep of a home before a viewing. What I got from the story, the house is out in a rural part of Mississippi, somewhere in Webster County. If you look at a street view of this place, it is desolate on this road. There's not a lot going on. Real estate agent had gone through the house and said that she was hearing things coming from the basement and she wasn't sure if it was an animal. She opened the door to the top of the stairs of the basement. She just started taking these pictures to send to her boss, but it was her boss who who noticed something in the background. You zoom in, very faint and in the dark, you can see what looks like a person who's kneeling in the crack of that doorway down there. She didn't stick around in the house long enough to actually see this person. It is only captured in this photo, and there was no additional evidence of them in the home after this was taken. Please don't forget, if you are looking for more creepy content, go check out my podcast, The Sinister.
I ain't seen it, but I just saw like a freaking, just a light. It's like a small, like, I cannot see that person kneeling down, man. I don't know if that's bad or not.
Police in Massachusetts came upon a grisly scene this month when they discovered the bodies of 4 infants at an apartment building in South Boston. The bodies were discovered in early November, and they have now been identified as 2 male and 2 female infants. And one of those sets of remains was found inside of a freezer in a 1-bedroom apartment. And this case is as disturbing as it is mysterious. A 911 caller first alerted police to go check out this apartment, but that person's identity has not been released. And autopsy results on the 4 sets of remains are still pending. So we don't know how old the bodies were, how long they had been dead, what killed them, or who these children belong to. And so far, police haven't arrested anyone in this case, nor have they publicly identified a single suspect. Now, the apartment building where this happened has 9 units, and neighbors were frankly shocked to hear about this gruesome scene. And one nearby resident told reporters that there were a handful of people that used to go in and out of that particular unit, but nothing struck them as suspicious.
These are 8 horrifying facts that will probably keep you up at night. Episode 20. Number 1. Coffin births. This is a rare phenomenon that is scientifically known as post-mortem fetal extrusion. It occurs when a pregnant woman dies and her body expels the fetus. The gases in the abdomen builds up and then forces the stillborn fetus out. Number 2. Jeannie, the feral child. Discovered in 1970, Jeannie was a girl who had been kept isolated by her family in Los Angeles for over a decade. She was almost entirely mute and had barely any exposure to human interaction or the outside world. Number 3. The Green Children of Woolpit. In the 12th century, 2 children with green-tinted skin appeared in the village of Woolpit in England. They spoke an unknown language and only ate raw beans. Eventually, their skin lost its green color and they adapted to normal food. The origin of these children still remains a mystery. Number 4. The Hinterkaifeck murders. In 1922, an entire family was mysteriously murdered at their farm in Germany. Reports found footsteps leading to their farm, but not away. This case was never solved. Number 6. The Devil's Kettle. In Minnesota, United States, there is a waterfall that splits into 2. One side flowing into a river and the other side vanishing into a hole. Scientists still don't know where that water goes. Number 7. Wow. NASA would never release information about asteroids approaching Earth. Not because they're worried about us freaking out. It's because we don't have the technology to detect if there are asteroids coming from very far away. Number 8. Human extinction. This is linked to number 7. We can't really confirm if any asteroids are coming to hit us because in 2017 an asteroid named AG-13 was about to hit Earth with less than the distance of the moon. The asteroid flew so fast, scientists were only able to see it 48 hours before it could have hit Earth. This is real information. Let me know if you want part.
Fun fact, Australia started off as a penal colony. Like they sent prisoners down there, and they also sent misbehaving rabbits down under, and they eventually became kangaroos. And my only source that made it for real though, y'all don't listen to me. I've been saying kangaroos are just felony convict buddies sentenced to life in Australia. You know what's hilarious? Those are great kangaroos.
they're not the biggest ones. Red kangaroos are the max security prison deer of down under. R.I.P. Roger, but he was a 6'7", 200-pound kickboxing marsupial that crushed metal as a hobby. It's one of those animals childhood gaslit you about. It's a hop-happy homicide case that can fold you in several ways. Let's count them. They got claws for grappling. Good luck getting out of them. That toenail sharp enough to slice your stomach open. And the worst part is that tail, because they can stand on it and kick you full force, have your soul asking for divorce. Not to mention, if you follow them into water, they have the tools, knowledge, and intent to drown you. And I have a theory why this kickboxing crash out's like this. See, back in the day, they had to deal with nonsense like a marsupial lion. Basically an over 200-pound predatory wombat on steroids with the strongest bite force of any mammal pound for pound. And Megalania, a Komodo dragon times 3. 23 feet worth of F around and flatline, ain't no finding out. I really think surviving all that gave kangaroos the most irrational confidence on Earth. Now you can't tell them nothing. A whole bicep curl encrypted. Fun fact, it shows submission by coughing, so if one ever presses you, you have a choice. You can have a coughing fit or fit a coffin.
This 12-year-old child bride is shown kissing her brand new 32-year-old husband in this photo. And the story behind this picture is disturbing. So this is 32-year-old Homer Peel from Tennessee and his 12-year-old bride, Geneva. They got married somehow in the 1930s in Tennessee, but not without controversy. You see, locals in the area protested this marriage, and they were constantly making their thoughts known. I mean, obviously, this is a 12-year-old girl getting married to a 32-year-old man. It blows my mind that disgusting filth like this used to be legal here in America. But unfortunately, that's just history, and it was. So, like I said, in the 1930s, Homer decided to take his child bride down to the courthouse to get married. And get married they did. Now, Geneva's mother didn't know that she was going to the courthouse to get married, and when her mother found out about this, she filed a lawsuit to try to get the marriage annulled, essentially to cancel the marriage. However, the judge said that he wouldn't annul the marriage because, as it turned out, Geneva had been living in a poorhouse with her mother, and the judge decided that her life was better with her 32-year-old husband than with her mother in the poorhouse. So, he just decided not to annul the marriage and sent the child victim back home with her abuser. I mean, this is absolutely disgusting, disturbing shit, but predators and pedophiles aren't a modern thing. And in some cases like this, it used to be legal. Let me know if you thought this was as shocking as I did.
I will call the cops. This video has been making its way around the internet lately, and the story behind it is so morbid. If you have not been following along, allow me to catch you up. So the woman here in the baseball cap, her name is Katrina McLean, and she's got kind of a dark hobby. No, it's not what you think. She likes to make creepy dolls. Like these kind of dolls. She says she likes to make creations that shock the mind and the soul. So that's not a big deal. I mean, I'm into all kinds of creepy things, so you know, you do you. What did she do that people are all up in arms about?
Yeah.
Well, apparently there is a special ingredient to these creepy dolls that Katrina constructs, and the secret ingredient is people. Desecrated remains, to be exact. Allegedly. Katrina, along with 6 other people, are alleged to be a part of a very sordid and illegal operation that steals human remains that were donated to a medical school. Harvard Medical School, actually. And she's alleged to have a skull and some human skin in some of her dolls. The morgue manager was running this black market operation to sell parts before they were cremated and returned to the family. And the story is still continuing to unfold. A mysterious illness.
The things people do for money, man. Messing with somebody's remains just to make a quick buck. Why do people always have to do the heinous things, man, for money? It truly blows my mind every single time I watch these clips together with you guys, Seekers.
Has emerged in Uganda that causes uncontrollable body tremors. Since its first reported case in early 2023, Dinga Dinga, which roughly translates to shaking like dancing, has puzzled health officials, and the exact cause remains undetermined.
Start dancing
It
out
primarily
loud.
seems to be affecting women and girls. Roughly 300 cases have been documented, all of which are confined to Uganda's Bundibugyo district, and the symptoms include uncontrollable shaking, fever and fatigue, and mobility issues due to the severity of the shaking. Fortunately, no fatalities have occurred, and the illness appears to be treatable with antibiotics, leading to a recovery within a week. There has, however, been a lot of comparisons to the dancing plagues of 1518 in France. During that well-documented historical event, people started dancing uncontrollably for days,
days, sometimes leading to exhaustion-related deaths. And while experts have never fully confirmed the cause of the dancing plague, there are a number of key differences to Dinga Dinga, leading them to believe that, don't worry, they're not the same thing.
Okay, so those are completely two separate things, man. Dancing until you check out. This
woman
weird.
was buried alive by her husband. This happened in Washington when 42-year-old young Ann called police using her Apple Watch after her husband beat her and duct taped her mouth. During the 911 call, Young is heard screaming before her husband broke her Apple Watch, threw her in his van, and drove off. Video surveillance captured Che Ann driving out of the garage at the same time that police arrived to the home. Che Ann took his wife to a wooded area, stabbed her in the chest, and buried her alive in a shallow grave. She had a very hard time breathing when she was in there, but she was able to finally get out several hours later and ran to the nearest home and asked for help. It was said that their fight started because they were talking about divorce and finances. Che Ann was charged with attempted first-degree murder, domestic violence, and kidnapping.
Here are some signs that you or a friend could possibly be a serial killer. And this is like a real problem. So like apparently in our lifetimes, we're going to walk past 16 murderers. And apparently if you live in the city, that almost triples. Make sure to stay till the end too, because I'm going to tell you which zodiac sign is #1 in serial killing. The first one is typically a serial killer is very, very antisocial. They don't like being the center of attention because if you're the center of attention, you have more eyes on you, which means that you can't really do your murders. The second one is a lot of them are obsessed with fire. That's because when somebody lights something on fire, they have complete control of what this flame is doing. The third one is their IQ level. Some of the most famous serial killers that we know in history are some of the smartest people ever. Even your disorganized serial killers are typically above normal intelligence. And the #1 zodiac sign for serial killers is a Pisces. Being a Pisces says you have a very, very big heart, but you also know how to manipulate it. Apparently, if you guys go through something traumatic, you can handle a lot of the pain, but you dish out 100 times more than you got.
Child marriage used to be legal in America, and the story of this marriage is one of the most disturbing things I've ever read about. This is 9-year-old Unice Winstead, and this is her legal husband at the time, Charlie Johns. So on January 19th, 1937, Unice, who was 9 years old at the time, left her mother's house. On that morning, she told her parents that she was going out to buy herself a new doll. But instead, the 9-year-old was headed to the courthouse to meet her 22-year-old future husband, Charlie Johns. So at the time of this affair, there was no age limit on marriage in Tennessee. I mean, technically, someone could have married an adult and a baby if they paid off the minister and got everything to go through properly. And so on that day, 22-year-old Charlie offered a local Baptist preacher named Walter $1, which equates to around $21 today. And the preacher accepted the offer, came into the church, and married the 9-year-old to the 22-year-old. I mean, obviously, words cannot possibly describe how disturbing images like these are. Now, at first, both Charlie and Unice's parents disapproved of the marriage, but after some thought, they eventually approved the marriage, and they just allowed them to live together and be married. Now, sadly, Unice dropped out of school at the age of 9 after her husband, Charlie, pulled her out, and she began giving birth to their children at age 15. They'd eventually have 8 children together. I just cannot believe that shit like this used to happen in America. Comment your thoughts on this below.
And that's, like you said, it's not a modern thing. This thing was way, way back, bro. I didn't think about it, man. There was, there was no laws back then, man. So they was just probably just going crazy. No regulation. It's a very dangerous time to be in. You know what this is, man. We expert level.
You ever go to an NBA game, you can't help but think, this is your life. How do you miss shots ever? Same thing here, like respectfully, I don't know. I guess I just expected a walking sand ship to be better than this. Act like you've been here before. Well, actually, funny thing about that. Tell camels to go back to where they came from, and after they spit on your entire lineage, they'll start showing up in America. Yeah, camels originated in North America. The OG hump jockey's more native to Texas than the Sahara. There's even a story about a demonic man-eating camel terrorizing 1800s Arizona, but that's for another video. Yeah, the first camels were seasoned by snow from the Arctic, not sand. Something else you might not know, the laugh track of Lion King actually used to run through Eurasia during the Ice Age, which means they have a whole winter coat at the ready if it ever gets cold enough. You ever seen a fluffy hyena? Just know, when you're being mean to the hyenas, you're hating on him too. Their biggest ops have a winter fit too, although to be fair, these are Asian lions. I don't know what it is, there's just something really cozy about this picture. Okay, last one. Cheetahs are fast. Did you know that? Well, there used to be an American cheetah, and they're long gone, but the evidence is still there if you look close enough. This is a pronghorn. They're like the forgotten little brother of giraffes, and yes, they're related. They're also the second fastest mammals alive, because the cats might have stopped chasing them, but the prongs are still running. The more you know. I ain't gonna lie, this video was just an excuse to show the fluffy hyena, and I'm not about to apologize for it.
Fluffy
My
hyena.
biggest fear was having an ugly baby. Now look. Look what the fuck I got. Look at him. He is so funny looking.
How dare you say something like this about your own child? To all the moms watching this, do you think this is normal? Now, I'm not married, I don't have kids, but this is messed up. You've been carrying this child for 9 months. This child is your own skin, and you go and call him ugly publicly online. To me, miss, your child looks adorable. There are women out there that gave birth to babies missing arms and legs, and they were never treated differently than other kids. These kids eventually grow up winning golden medals in Special Olympics. But the thing is, there's nothing wrong with your child, miss. What a shame. What a shame.
Truly, man.
This is why you should always keep pictures of your parents. A little girl named Olivia who lived a very quiet life decided to check her homework assignments that were posted online. The teacher posted that they needed to write down their favorite memory with their family as well as bring a photograph. Olivia then writes about how her and her mom play dolls every night in the basement before bed and that she has a lot of fun doing so. She finishes her paragraph and then looks in her dad's drawer for a photograph of mom. She only found pictures of her mom from high school but decided to use it anyway. Olivia goes to bed and wakes up the next morning. Once she arrives at school, the teacher then says, let's start presenting our project. Then the teacher called Olivia's name to present. Olivia then begins to read about how her and her mom play dolls every night and then pulls out the photograph. As soon as Olivia pulled out the photograph, her teacher's face goes numb. She then asked Olivia if she can take a closer look at the photograph. She then recognized her mom as one of her previous students. Then the teacher asked, where did you get this photo? Olivia says, my dad keeps them in his drawer. The teacher, shocked, sits down Olivia and pulls out an old newspaper. The newspaper headline, local high school teen murdered, boyfriend gone missing. The teacher then looks at Olivia and says, your mom has been dead for 14 years.
This is the creepy story of 23-year-old Fan Man Lee and how her head was found in a Hello Kitty doll. Fan Man Lee struggled with addiction for a very long time, and in 1997, she met 34-year-old Chan Man Lok, who was a drug dealer and a pimp. For that year, Fan Man Lee became desperate for money and drugs, so she stole $4,000 from Chan Man Lok. When he noticed that the money was missing, he asked his two friends to kidnap Fan Man Yi. Originally, his plan was to force Fan Man Yi into prostitution so she can pay him back, but his plan got out of hand and he did something much worse. Chan Man Lok, his friends, and his girlfriend began torturing Fan Man Yi. They tied her up and beat her, burned her, sexually assaulted her, and forced her to eat human feces. Eventually, Fan Man Yi passed away, so they cut her body into pieces, boiled it, and then fed some of the remaining pieces to the dogs. This is where things get super creepy. The three men decided to stuff Fan Man Yi's head into a Hello Kitty doll. And get this, the crime was eventually reported by Chan Man Lok's girlfriend. She basically told on herself because she claimed to be haunted by the ghost of a dead woman. She said that this ghost would not stop tormenting her until she confessed to the murder. It's been said that the building where Fan Man Yi passed away has been haunted for a very long time. People claim to see the figure of a woman walking in the hallways and also claim to hear the cries of a woman.
Haunted? They said the building was demolished, so there was truth to that story, validity to it, man.
These are the craziest discoveries we made in 2024. Starting in England, where amateur archaeologists unearthed one of the largest Roman dodecahedrons ever found. Till this day, though, what they were used for still remains a mystery. In Iran, they discovered the world's oldest lipstick, dating back 4,000 years. An Italian junk dealer discovered that the old painting he had hung up at his family-owned restaurant was actually an original Picasso, now worth over $6.6 million. In Botswana, the world's second largest diamond ever was unearthed, and we were gifted with this clip. What? Back to Earth, a scientific expedition in Peru discovered 27 new species, including an amphibious mouse and a blob-headed fish. Scientists discovered an association between low testosterone and high anxiety. Japan discovered the skeleton panda sea squirt, which, for such a random name, is somehow the perfect description. And how could we forget? The evolution of life on Earth and even space was thrown into question after the discovery of dark oxygen on the floor of the Pacific Ocean.
What the did I just watch? I don't know how I'm going to sleep after watching this documentary. This documentary is about people who die and have no next of kin and how the coroner deals with them. And fair warning, they show everything in this documentary. From the beginning, I was not expecting it, and it literally shows a guy on the toilet. If you love documentaries, make sure to hit follow because I post daily and you'll never miss out on what to watch. This whole film is haunting, unnerving, heartbreaking. The amount of people that just pass away without any loved ones around them are just left for the city to deal with, and they have to try to find somebody to claim them is so heartbreaking. This made me feel like I really need to have children so that this doesn't happen to me. And it's so crazy to see the people who do this as a job. I'm sitting there with my jaw on the floor and these people are just wrapping them up and tossing them down the hallway. I guess you get used to seeing it, but it's just so astonishing. Typically I show the trailer in the background when I make videos, but I can't even play the trailer in this because I would have to censor the whole thing. I'm sure some of you do this as a job and I would love to hear about it in the comments. Have you guys seen?
I didn't even imagine that, man. Like passing away with no next of kin and they have to figure out what to do with it. Somebody else deciding what to do with your remains. I can't go through with that, man. That's why you gotta be thankful for your family.
This yet, Ken Urger posted this photo onto his Instagram account about an hour ago showing that he and Gypsy Rose have had the baby. His caption says, "Welcoming 2025 with the greatest gift of all," with the baby emoji. They've named the baby Aurora Reina Urker, and a lot of people were thinking that the name Aurora came from the Princess Sleeping Beauty. Because, you know, when she was growing up, she was oftentimes dressed as a Disney princess and made frequent trips to Walt Disney World. And she loved Disney princesses. And then other people were thinking they chose that name after Christie's dog, Aurora Grace. But she says here, back whenever Ken and I were together 7 years ago, both of us have a fascination with the Northern Lights. And the proper term is the Aurora Borealis. I think it was maybe in 2018, we wrote each other's future kid's name on pieces of paper, and Aurora is what we both picked without even knowing each other was picking it. She said they held on to that name and that memory even after she and Urker split and she married Ryan Anderson. When we had broken up, it was like, oh, Aurora is never going to be born. A lot of people think the origin is one thing, but they don't know that little story. So, congratulations to Gypsy Rose and Ken, and let's all hope and pray she doesn't turn out to be her mother.
Who is Vexbolts?
Oh,
Why are people planning to mass unfollow him? Vexbolts is a content creator known for his Fortnite videos, including one that went viral for his Let Him Cook audio. Let him cook! But now many TikTokers are vowing to leave Vexbolts in 2024, joining a trend that asks users to unfollow him today before we ring in the new year. Comment sections have been flooded with calls to unfollow Vexbolts, who has now surpassed 8 million followers, many of whom only followed him to participate in the mass unfollowing. Some claim they're unfollowing the creator because his content is cringeworthy, but others are simply joining in on the trend for fun. So will you be participating?
Well, we're leaving, man. I remember seeing that trend, bro. They said they were gonna leave it for 2024, man. Everybody should leave some, bro, in 2024 going into the new
Scary
year.
facts that will give you nightmares, part 2. The chainsaw was originally invented by 2 surgeons from Scotland to help assist in childbirth. A surgical procedure known as tooth in the eye surgery was made popular in the 1960s. Surgeons would put a tooth in a blind person's eye in order to restore their sight. This procedure works and is still being done in some cases today. And lastly, hundreds of people die every year from being strangled by their own bed sheets.
She was killed by her own people. This is what happened to 30-year-old Annie May Aquash. Annie May was born on March 27, 1945, and was born into the Mikwok First Nation. Annie May was a part of the American Indian movement, and she was just extremely passionate about human rights and the preservation of tribal communities. She was a mother of two, so she was fighting for her children's safety and future. Throughout her time with the American Indian movement, she was arrested on federal weapons-related charges, but she was quickly released. She was arrested for a second time in November of 1975. However, she was released just 10 days later on November 25th. Due to how quickly she was released, some members of the American Indian movement started to believe that maybe she was working as an informant for the FBI, and that's why she was released so quickly. The last time anyone saw Annie May was in the middle of December, and then just 2 months later, on February 24th, 1976, a farmer in South Dakota stumbled upon a frozen, badly decomposed body. The farm was located along the Pine Ridge Indian Reservation, and this corpse was wearing blue jeans, a maroon jacket, and they were laying with their knees pushed up all the way to their chest. Police were called to the scene, and a coroner determined that this was a woman and that they had been dead for more than 2 months. Due to the condition of the body, it took a little bit over a week for police to identify this corpse as 30-year-old Annie May Aquash. Initially, they believed that she died of exposure, that she froze to death. They buried her, and that was that. When her family and friends heard the news about her death, they were just completely shocked. They were trying to figure out what had happened since the last time she was seen in December to when her body was found in February. I mean, what happened in those 2 months? They just had a gut feeling that something more had happened. They requested a second autopsy. They exhumed her body, and this new autopsy revealed that Annie May had a gunshot wound to the back of her head. This wasn't an accident. This wasn't the consequence of exposure. Annie May was murdered. Her friends and family initially believed that maybe the FBI had done this to silence her. However, it was later revealed that no, the FBI didn't do this. Instead, she was kidnapped, R-worded, and unalived on December 12, 1975 by 3 members of the American Indian movement. Her family just couldn't believe that she was betrayed by those she trusted and by people she believed had her back. As of today, someone has been convicted for the murder of Annie May and has been sentenced to life in prison, but were more people involved? Her family believes that maybe higher-level officials at the American Indian movement could have ordered her death because they truly believed that she was an FBI informant. It's been nearly 30 years since Annie May, a mother, a sister, a beloved friend, a human being, was killed. To hear more about what happened to Annie May, make sure to watch Vow of Silence on Hulu to uncover the truth, and let me know what you guys think about this down below.
This is a true horrifying story of what Jahannam really is. Jahannam is hellfire. It is a place of eternal punishment. It is believed amongst all religions. In some religions, like Christianity, hell is a spiritual dimension, so it's only the souls that are tortured in hell. But that's not really the case. Hellfire is a physical place. It does exist. It is a world, just like any other world. It has valleys, mountains, and canyons. But it's not only a world. This thing breathes, it roars, it speaks. Hellfire is a beast. Hellfire eats sinners for a living. The more you feed it, the hungrier it gets. It is so big, it is chained by 70,000 chains. And on each chain, there are 70,000 angels pulling it. I'm talking about 4.9 billion angels. Do you know how big an angel can be based on Islamic narrations? An angel can tip over a country with the tip of one of its wings. Imagine the size of an angel. Now imagine 4.9 billion of them just struggling to hold down hellfire. Hell has 7 gates, and the guardian angel of hellfire is Malik. Malik is the only angel that never smiled. Let me tell you how terrifying this place is. In hellfire, there are clouds of acid. People that enter are given clothing made from fire. The temperature in there are millions of kelvins. Nothing compared to the sun. People in hellfire are privileged in size. God makes them so big, one of their teeth will be the size of Mountain Uhud. Why are they so big, you ask? So they burn slower. You will hear disturbing sounds of screams from people in there. They will beg for food and water, and they will be told to go down to the bottom of hell to find the tree of Zaqum. Zaqum is a fruit made in hellfire. It is so hot, one narration says if this fruit accidentally dropped on earth, it will burn down the whole globe. They will be given boiling water to drink. The water will be so hot, their faces would melt before they drink it. And if you decide not to drink nor eat, they will force feed you till you have a full stomach. Hellfire is also a place of ambush. There are other creatures in there that will attack you. I'll leave the rest for Mu'min Abu Mecca to explain. I'm not sure how other religions describe it, but in Islam, this is hellfire. And no one can sacrifice themselves for your sins.
After his pet hippo turned on him, Marius Els adopted 5-month-old baby Humphrey and took him to live in his 400-acre farm in South Africa. When Humphrey was a baby, everything was fine, but a lot of people warned Marius how dangerous Humphrey can become when he gets bigger. Marius ignored everyone and treated Humphrey like a pet. He would even ride on his back for fun and showed zero fear of this hippo. But it wasn't long until Humphrey got bigger and he eventually reached 1.2 tons and attacked Marius's nephew and almost killed him. But that's not all. In 2011, Humphrey attacked Marius in front of his family and took his life. This all happened when Marius called Humphrey to eat, and according to Marius's family, Humphrey's demeanor was different on this day, basically showing signs of aggression. Marius believed that his pet hippo would never betray him, so he ignored all these signs. When he continued to call Humphrey out of the water to eat, Humphrey suddenly stormed out and attacked Marius, biting into his body multiple times and then dragging him into the water. And this all happened in front of his family, the same people that warned Marius about Humphrey. What's crazy is that even though hippos look super sweet and cute compared to other wild animals, they actually kill more people each year than any other mammal on this planet. Just something to keep in mind.
They wild animals, man.
Greater Buenos Aires mysteriously turned red, sparking fears among locals of a toxic spill, according to local reports. Local media say that authorities have collected water samples to investigate the discoloration of the river, which flows into the Rio de la Plata and is near an ecological reserve, according to Reuters. Initial findings from government agencies suggest that the substance may not be toxic, according to Reuters.
Morbid facts.
It's not toxic, so so why is the water red? Maybe it's a sign. It was coming back in the old days, but there's something going on, man. That's in Rio too. I'm definitely going to have to freaking check up on that, man. My sensor's going off on that one.
Part 509. In 2016, Texas father Daniel Shaver was held up by police after he was seen pointing a pellet gun out of his hotel window. Several officers had rifles pointed at Shaver in the hallway as he attempted to comply with them, but their commands were confusing and contradictory, especially since Shaver was drunk. For example, they told Shaver not to put his hands down for any reason before telling him to start crawling towards them. As Shaver was crawling and begging for his life, he reached back to pull his pants up and was killed instantly by Officer Philip Brailsford, who later claimed he thought Shaver was reaching for a weapon. Brailsford was charged with second-degree murder and found not guilty, since the full unedited footage wasn't released until hours after his acquittal. Brailsford was rehired by the department and reimbursed for all the medical expenses he paid, while seeking treatment for the PTSD he claimed he acquired from the shooting. Because of this, Brailsford was medically retired and now collects a $2,500 pension every month.
Man, that's a chilling story. And that's how, man, me personally, I ain't playing with no freaking BB guns and stuff like that, because people can misinterpret it and a real situation could happen. So I don't play with that stuff. It ain't worth it. You saw firsthand. Trust me, man. You know what this is.
This is what they meant when they said, don't talk to strangers. In the early 1900s, a 10-year-old boy was playing in the woods when a tall man appeared and asked if he wanted to come back to his cabin for dinner. Totally caught off guard, the boy reluctantly agrees and begins walking. When they get to the cabin, the boy is relieved when he sees Paul, a family friend, sitting on the porch, so the boy happily goes inside. After they eat, the boy says thank you to the strange tall man, says bye to Paul, and then he leaves. He had only walked a few steps when he sees his family, along with Paul, running up the path towards him, frantically asking if he was okay. Confused, the boy says, I'm just fine, and he looks at Paul and he's like, why didn't you tell them I was with you at the cabin? And he points over his shoulder. Paul glances over the boy's shoulder and then narrows his eyes and says, you were kidnapped by a cult 3 days ago. No one's seen you. Terrified, the boy turns around to look at the cabin he just came from, and it's gone. All he sees is a dark forest that stretches for miles.
What the hell?
Scary games you should never play. This is the cat scratch game. The game requires 2 players. Player 1, lie your back on the floor with your head resting on player 2's lap. Player 2 will recite one of these 2 stories while rubbing player 1's temples.
I never play any of these scary games that get suggested.
When player 2 has finished the story, stand up and pull up player 1's shirt. Their back should be covered in red claw marks. Many swear that whatever scratched them was something much more sinister than just a cat.
This is why it's always a bad idea to go to graveyards at night. Urban explorer Frank from Franco TV explored a graveyard in Peru. As he explores the area, he sees a group of people far in the corner. Not knowing what's going on and worried for his safety, he hides in a tomb waiting for them to leave. 30 minutes gone by, they turn off the lights and begin to leave. Scared someone may still be there, Frank waits 30 more minutes. As he makes his way to the tomb, what he finds is disturbing. Frank finds a circle of candles and what looks like a voodoo doll next to a star. He also finds a container with unknown contents. As Frank tries to communicate with the spirits in that area, he hears laughing coming from one of the graves. Worried for his safety, he decides to leave and says he doesn't want any problems or to be followed by anything there. As Frank makes his way out, he sees something horrifying. What looks like a person can be seen peeking at Frank from the corner of the tomb. But when he checks around the tomb, there's no one there.
Somebody was definitely still
Friendly
there.
reminder that if you're ever in Churchill, Canada, it is illegal, if not very frowned upon, to lock your car. The reason is so that if a polar bear comes after you, hiding in someone else's car might be your only option. Not only are polar bears one of the few animals that will actively try to eat humans, since they can track prey from miles away, they'll smell you way before you see them. Remember, if it's brown, get on the ground. If it's black, fight back. Talking about bears. If it's white like an addict's nose, your casket finna be closed.
Okay, stay away from polar bears. Once again, noted. I didn't know there was a law, I guess, where it was at that you had to keep your car door open because if we get to attack you like that, man. I keep thinking about that meme, bro. What the hell is a polar bear doing in Arlington, Texas?
This is a test to see if you have healthy eyes. If you pass all 5 levels, your vision is perfect.
Let's do it.
All you have to do is pick one out of the 10 colors that is different from the rest. Starting off easy, you can clearly see that number 7 is lighter than the rest of them. 97% of people pass this stage, but it's about to get way harder. Okay, let's move on to medium. This one is a little more difficult and will require a little more attention. The correct answer is 2. Level advanced is even harder. Only 30% of people make it past this stage, so really focus and you'll see that the correct answer is 4. Superhuman. This level is really going to test your vision, and I know these look identical, but if you look closely, number 4 is slightly different. And the final level, impossible. 92% of people failed this level, and the answer is 10. Were you right? Comment below.
Oh, man. I tried to pass that test. I think the last one, that's what really got to me, bro. But I basically passed it all up until the last one, man. Did you guys keep up?
Don't even get me started on Laura Karen. That teacher was sexually assaulting a 13-year-old boy since he was 11 years old, got pregnant with his baby, and then wasn't even arrested until the baby was 5. And as of today, she has been released from jail. If you've never heard of Laura Karen, she worked at Middle Township Elementary School. She was a 5th grade teacher, meaning that she primarily worked with 10 to 11-year-old students. And from 2016 to 2020, she was sexually abusing a boy who she had had as a student. She had also had his brother in her class. And obviously it was before this all came out, but he, his brother, and his sister, so 3 siblings, actually went to go live in her home for a period of time. And that was between 2016 and 2020, and that is when things got really bad for that boy. According to his sister, when that boy would go into the bathroom to take a shower, Laura would go into the bathroom and lock the door. Additionally, all of the siblings shared a bedroom in her house. However, in the morning when the 2 other siblings would wake up, they would notice that their brother wasn't there, and their brother was in bed with Laura. She had become friends with the parents of those siblings, and she was actually trusted to be a resource parent. In New Jersey, the term resource parent is a synonym for foster parent. But Laura took that trust and completely violated it. She violated their son, and she managed to get away with it for years until December of 2024. That is when she was arrested. I believe it was December 17th. It was found out because the child that she had was a son who looked a lot like the son who she sexually abused. And he looked a lot like the victim's father, and understandably so. And the victim confirmed to his sister that he was the father. She appeared in court today, Tuesday, January 21st of 2025. The judge has ruled that she can be released as her case continues.
A teacher gave a final exam where students had to draw and achieve a high score in the shortest possible time. While walking around the classroom, the teacher noticed one student drawing in an incredibly surprising and unconventional way. The student used a ruler and 2 pens to make their drawing perfectly identical to the reference image. What do you think about this?
This is how you can get full control over your body. If you're ever feeling really stressed or anxious, I got you. All you have to do is slowly blow on your thumb for 30 seconds like this. This will slow down your heartbeat and calm your nerves so you won't have to worry anymore. Next, if you ever wake up in the morning and your hand or arm has fallen asleep, all you have to do is shake your head and it will quickly go away. But if your leg falls asleep, all you have to do is wiggle your toes and your leg will be back to normal right away. If you're ever sick to your stomach and you want to get feeling better quickly, listen up. Squeeze down your left thumb like this to deactivate your gag reflex so you won't gag. And place your thumb right here on your wrist to get rid of your nausea. Finally, eating peanut butter before you fall asleep at night could change your life. It's scientifically proven that eating peanut butter before you fall asleep can help you fall asleep much faster. And it will also give you insanely vivid dreams. A rare and mysterious illness is currently sweeping through a city in India, leaving patients suddenly paralyzed and unable to control their body. With what began as a child struggling to hold their pencil in January, has now escalated into a full-scale medical emergency. Over 170 reported cases, dozens in intensive care, at least 5 suspected deaths, and even teams from the WHO arriving in Pune to investigate. But here's what makes this illness so terrifying. It has what's referred to as the Russian roulette effect. You see, the bacteria that can trigger the paralysis is everywhere. It's found in contaminated food and water, and most people consume it at some point in their life without even knowing. But for reasons that scientists still don't fully understand yet, only in a small percentage of cases, this bacteria can trigger Guillain-Barré syndrome, which causes the immune system to go rogue, shutting down your body piece by piece. For example, last month, a school teacher noticed that our 6-year-old son couldn't hold his pencil properly, and within days, his legs and arms stopped working. He lost the ability to swallow, speak, and eventually breathe, requiring ventilator support. At that stage, you can think of it like having sleep paralysis while being fully awake. Now, because there is no cure for GBS, early intervention is critical, and that's why authorities have now set up special hospital wards, launched mass water testing, and called in the WHO in efforts to contain the outbreak and prevent more lives being put at risk. As the situation develops, I'll keep you guys updated.
This preacher calls
keep me up to date.
Paranormal in church. Let's watch it together.
Well, hey everybody, Pastor Aaron here. It's my pleasure just to announce that this Sunday will be open.
Oh nah.
Okay, we've been trying to do this announcement several times today already, and 3 times that podium back there has fallen over on its own, and it's stable. I mean, it's not wobbly at all.
Leave the church. I would leave.
It's kind of like
I'm hitting the jets.
Wow. That podium has been wobbling. Okay, so we checked the vent. There's a vent there that is not an air duct that has any forced air at all, so it can't be wobbling from that. There's absolutely no breeze in here. You can see by the banner there.
Call Ghostbusters.
This no air conditioning. It's these things, they're off. I don't know. So I'm just gonna sit here and watch it for a little bit, and we will see if it does it again.
Oh nah, I'm leaving.
Nothing's moving. That hasn't moving.
I'm leaving. You see that?
He's still there.
There's seriously nothing else. There's no breeze. It's moving again.
It's time to go.
Oh yeah, I'm out.
Have
I'm
you ever
in the
seen a
Jets.
boarding pass that's so big it could double as a billboard? Well, one man's oversized ticket has taken the internet by storm. This hilarious moment was caught on camera in an airport when a guy rolled up to the gate with what might just be the world's most dramatic boarding pass. Of course, it wasn't long before a very confused officer had to step in. While people who saw the huge boarding pass thought it was a joke, the passenger was completely serious. But as for the officer, he was trying his hardest to not crack up while keeping the situation serious. This lady just broke a Guinness World of Record by eating cotton candy. Meet Leia Shutkeever, a speed eater extraordinaire who just devoured an insane amount of cotton candy in only 60 seconds, shattering the Guinness World Record. But the best part? When she was presented with the grinchy treat, she had one simple question. Why is it green? David Wilson, the adjudicator, couldn't help but respond with a smile and said, "It's quite grinchy."
Why is it green? It's quite grinchy. It is quite grinchy.
To break the record, Leia had to demolish at least 45 grams of this sticky sweet green goo in under a minute. And did she? Of course she did, leaving her with sticky fingers and a sticky face. But Leia isn't just about cotton candy. She's also set records for inhaling 19 chicken nuggets in a minute and 10 Jolly Donuts in 3 minutes.
Damn, speed eating? I couldn't do that, man. She broke all those records. She got a talent, bro. She's talented. Gotta give it that. I gotta give that to her.
We now actually know what happens when we die. In some of the biggest news of the century, we've now got evidence suggesting that your life carries on after you die, and it gets a lot crazier than that. Make sure you share this video with your friends and family, because you don't want to miss this. So an old woman was passing away, and as she died, they had her hooked up to a machine which was monitoring her brain. Now what scientists got from these scans after she passed away was these photos, which don't look like much right now. But what these show is that a part of the brain, specifically the part of the brain that processes memories and experiences, was still active after death for around 8 minutes. And this is crazy because years ago I made a video saying about the 8 minutes after death and how your brain is still active. They did tests before on a man who died and found similar things, but nothing as concrete as this. As I say, from these scans, it showed that the brain was still active for around 8 minutes after this woman passed away. And specifically that she was processing memories, i.e. her life, flashing before her eyes, a common term you've probably heard. So this suggests that when you pass away, your life does flash before your eyes. You get memory flashbacks and maybe relive parts of your life. It also links into the theory I've spoken about before and many people have said. Think about when you have a dream. Sometimes dreams can feel really real and time's different, time dilation of course. Sometimes you'll have a dream, it feels like an hour, but you wake up and it's been about 2 minutes. Well, the same might be happening in this 8 minutes after death. Reliving memories, what feels like days, weeks, but it's only in the 8 minutes. Or maybe even like a lucid dream, creating some sort of new reality. So what's to say you're not dead right now in that 8 minutes? And this is all just a figment of your imagination.
What are the chances of 2 rivers?
That brings up a good point, man, especially at the end. That's like the simulation theory. That's what I got. But life, we heard before, you know, like your life flashed before your eyes. Guess there's some truth to that. We learning today.
2,000 miles apart, mysteriously turning blood red at the same time. And we don't know the cause for either. Worried residents in both Lima, Peru and Buenos Aires, Argentina have shared footage online reporting strong odors accompanying the discoloration. One local described the scene saying, "It looks like a stream of blood. We have never seen it like this." Now, while we don't know for sure what's caused either yet, I wouldn't go as far as saying it's a scene from a biblical prophecy. I'll just leave that there for a second. Rather, in Peru, environmental experts believe that it could be caused by pollutants discharged from mines and drainage pipes flowing into the river. Despite this, local water supplier, Cinepal, assured the public that the water is still safe to drink. And they better be bloody right, because this river is one of the country's most important water sources. And then for the river in Argentina, authorities suspect the presence of aniline, which is a toxic substance used in dyes, and they believe that it could have been dumped there by local companies. But then again, if Jesus did want to come back, it's not a bad time.
Those freaking 2 rivers turn red connected.
Susan Lewis Rose and her daughter Jamie moved into a new home in Southern California, and shortly after moving in, Susan's new boyfriend, Matt, he moved in as well. Also, Matt had a daughter named Marie, who was the same age as Jamie. A few weeks after moving in, Susan goes into the kitchen, and she sees on the counter that a peanut butter jar had its lid off and had been turned on its side. Peanut butter seemed to be running out of the jar like it had been melted. So she figures one of the kids must have come in here and for whatever reason microwaved the peanut butter and then dumped it on the counter. And Jamie would say that she literally laughed at her mom, like, why would I do that? And Marie too is like, no, I didn't touch the peanut butter. And all four of them spend the rest of the day goofing around outside near the pool. Later that day, they find that there have been cans that you would keep in your pantry, like canned food, stacked on each of the steps leading upstairs. They also find that there have been random objects placed all over the house in strange patterns. Hairbrushes arranged in a star pattern on the counter. They open the microwave and find peanut butter jars and other random canned foods and stuffed animals from the kids' rooms in the microwave. The cleaning materials underneath the sink had been pulled out and arranged in a height line from shortest to tallest. They think that someone's invaded their house, so they run back out again, and no one's come near their property. Ultimately just kind of moved on. In the last couple of weeks that they ever stayed at this house, because they would leave, two major events occurred. The first one happened when Marie was home alone. She's sitting in the living room watching TV, and at some point the TV starts turning off and on. And the TV finally just turns off. She can't get it on. She reaches for the remote. The remote flies off the table as all the pictures on the walls just start one by one falling off the wall. She takes her camera in her hand and kind of turns it and just starts taking pictures of the room. There are these weird orbs of light that are very clearly in the room with her. The second major event that occurred in those final 2 weeks, Jamie was in her room and she starts hearing pounding on her door. She started filming this pounding on her door.
Seen this firsthand.
And so she didn't open the door, and she went back onto her bed, and she just sat there in the fetal position for 3 hours, listening to something smashing nonstop into the door. She opens the door, and there's no one there. But the door on the outside, where the knocking had been happening, there's this huge dent and divot in the door. She sees that now there is a frying pan sitting in the hall that has a toilet paper roll completely on fire. Grabs a sweatshirt and she smothers the fire. And she goes outside defeated and just sits on the front steps of her house. Jamie explains what happens and that was it. And so they barely packed up and they left that house. It didn't sell. Susan literally went bankrupt. And soon after they left the neighborhood, their neighbors left the neighborhood and 5 other neighbors in their immediate vicinity all left. All of the houses did not sell. They are all vacant.
History that they'll never teach you in school. Part A.
Talk about it.
Pocahontas was 12 years old. She would entertain white colonists by doing cartwheels without wearing any clothes. This is actually one of the few things we know about her that's indisputable thanks to so many written accounts. From the 40s to the 70s, many Ivy League colleges, including Yale, Harvard, and Princeton, required all incoming freshmen to have nude photos taken of them. Administrators claimed it was to gauge the rate of diseases like rickets and scoliosis, but many believe the true reason behind them was much creepier. Most of the photos have since been destroyed, but thousands still remain in the Smithsonian's possession. In 1940, Walt Disney hired 11 little people to dress up as Pinocchio and wave to people at the movie's premiere. He left them on a theater balcony with enough food and wine for the day, but there was no way for them to get down. By late afternoon, they had all taken off their thick, sweaty costumes and were naked, drunk, and swearing at innocent parents and their children.
Hey man,
This father's reaction after being confronted of trying to force his daughters, who are now deceased, to marry older men is absolutely disgusting. If you want to watch the prison interview plus learn the details of the story, head over to my YouTube channel. It's all there.
Wanted the girls to be wed in arranged marriages in Egypt, right? It's arranged marriage now. This is big story because some people, they don't know what that means. They think we force a girl to marry the man we like, which is wrong. Amina later wrote about her fears that you intended to, and these are her words, quote, sell them to the highest bidder, to an older man that she did not love in a land that she said she hated. Okay. What do you think about it? Very funny, really. I'm laughing. Do you see me? I laugh. It's very funny.
Crazy history we're never taught in school. When Al Capone reached prison, he was diagnosed with neurosyphilis and eventually paroled early due to his limited mental capabilities. Only 3 objects have ever been found in the Great Pyramid of Giza. Pieces of wood, a copper hook, and a ball made of diorite, all discovered in 1872. Chang and Eng Bunker were conjoined twins who were brought to America at 18 years old to perform in a freak show. They escaped and settled in North Carolina, becoming U.S. citizens, owning slaves, marrying sisters, and producing 21 children together. 3 men escaped Alcatraz in a raft made of raincoats, and the FBI never found them. One man in the Middle Ages wrote a book claiming that witches were stealing men's private parts and keeping them as pets, ultimately leading to the European witch trials. There used to be a branch of the Nile River that ran right by the Great Pyramids. This is charcoal graffiti of gladiators drawn by children that was discovered in Pompeii.
You have to hear
More
this.
you know.
A Missouri man who lives inside of a cemetery actually saw the Grim Reaper. He said that he was in his house watching TV at about 3 o'clock in the morning when he heard a huge crash outside.
Oh my gosh.
Soon after he heard sirens and
I decided to step out and see what was happening. I walked through the graveyard like a dumbass.
Cars,
Damn it, man.
firefighters, and an ambulance arriving. He walked through the
I wish he
cemetery
would've tagged me
to
in
get a
this
better
shit.
view of what was going on. As he looked down from the top of the hill, he saw that it was a horrific car accident, a head-on collision between 2 cars, during which one of the drivers actually died at the scene.
You got it closer
After
to
watching
exactly what I
police
said
and
in the other
paramedics
game, but
took
you
the
left
road,
out the part where I
decided
scared
to
the
start
cop.
heading home. But then, all of the sudden,
And
he
when I
heard something
jumped in,
drop
that was
down
Amber.
from the tree beside
Pulled the
him.
covers
He
up over
turned
my
around
head.
to see what it was, and standing right in front of him was a strange, gray, faceless, humanoid figure. His heart jumped up into his throat, and he abruptly beelined it back home. He continued to hear this creature
Oh, he looked
behind
like
him, but he never
sort of
looked back.
dumbass.
He got home and immediately locked the doors.
You just debunked the story, man. Like I said, watching these videos together with you guys, Seekers, you always gotta do your own research, man. He just debunked it to us in real time. So, guess that story wasn't true. It's an edit, man. Tell me if y'all expert level at spotting out the edits. I know I can't be the only one.
Let's talk about one of the most disturbing final bosses in video game history. God from Silent Hill 3. The objective of the antagonist in Silent Hill 3 is to birth the new god that Heather Mason is carrying inside of her. In fact, every time you die in the game, the demon behind me named Valtiel revives Heather. They want this new god to be born no matter what the cost. By the end of the game, Heather ends up getting rid of the god inside of her. But before she can deal the final blow, the main antagonist, Claudia here, ends up devouring the god right in front of her, trying to complete the ritual. Except the ritual fails big time. The god is born prematurely, misshapen, and only half-formed, which gives Heather the perfect opportunity to finish it off for good. Fun fact, the face that Valtiel gives God is supposed to look like Alessa Gillespie.
Whoa. I never knew that. That happened in
A mother
that game.
does the most unthinkable act to her young children. Lamora Williams will spend the rest of her life in prison after she knowingly and intentionally killed her 2 toddler sons by placing them in an oven and turning it on. She was convicted of 14 charges, including murder, in the October 2017 deaths of her sons Kayonte Penn, 2, and 1-year-old Jakarta Penn. Williams contacted police claiming she found her children dead in her Atlanta apartment. Williams reported a stove on Jakarta's head, and Kayonte on the floor with severe injuries. Despite Williams' claim that a caregiver was responsible, investigators concluded she had placed the children in the oven the night before. The kids' father, Jadil Penn, called the scene as being like a real horror movie. He claimed Williams' video called him after the killing, showing his motionless children on the ground. Williams was said to have suffered from a long history of mental illness that was brought on by her father's passing when she was 19, and being a single mother of 4. After her conviction, Williams was quickly sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole, plus an additional 35 years.
Authorities have stopped investigating the case of a brazen thief who targeted a Japanese nursery school, even though the perpetrator is still on the loose. The crime spree began a few weeks ago when staff arrived to find more than a dozen indoor shoes missing from the cubbies where staff and students change into them before entering the main part of the building, as is customary in Japanese schools. The next day, even more shoes went missing, leading authorities to set up surveillance cameras around the school. And that's when they caught the unexpected culprit in action. Security security footage revealed this weasel specifically selecting white canvas shoes, possibly because they were the lightest to carry, and then running off with them into the night. While weasels are known for collecting soft materials to build cozy nests for themselves and their families, this particular shoe enthusiast showed impeccable taste, making off with 22 canvas shoes in total. Although the stolen shoes were never recovered, the children were delighted to learn that their missing footwear might be helping to keep a wild friend warm and comfortable. These days, the cubbies are protected by netting overnight, but the little weasel's shoe shopping spree has become a favorite story at the school. I'm Jen, and I post something positive every day.
This is why you should never run a marathon without changing your shoes or socks at least once. Because if you don't, you're gonna end up like this guy who ran 100 miles without changing a single time.
Oh, the pinkies. Oh, how do you
Dude. And then committing.
Change your socks, man. That's what we all took from that clip, bro. You should change it anyway, but definitely, bro. You saw this man in 4K, man. He ran a marathon too, wasn't changing the sock. Guess you can stop, man. Or have something ready, bro. That's insane.
The alleged crime. You see her loading up her car after shopping. This all happened.
So that lifestyle influencer stole more than $500 worth of stuff from Target. She recorded everything and then went home and posted a haul. It was said that she was scanning fake barcodes, so instead of scanning the items in her cart, she replaced them with cheaper items and scanned those instead. And I mean, we've all seen videos of people shoplifting at Target, Walmart, and all that, but the reason why this video went so viral is because not only did she steal all these items, but she was recording herself stealing, and then she went home, she did a haul, and she also did a day in the life with all the items that she stole. And the only reason she even got caught was because the footage from Target was posted on social media in hopes that someone can recognize her, and one of her followers were like, I follow this influencer on TikTok and Instagram. So they reached out, and that's how they caught her. They were able to match the footage of her stealing at Target with the footage that she took to post on her TikTok, showing off everything that she stole on that day. Now, another reason why this went so viral is because people are questioning how authentic is everything that we see on social media. You know, you see this woman who has this gorgeous house, beautiful furniture, everything just seems to be put together perfectly. And little did you know, she was actually stealing this entire time. This creator has gone back to posting but has turned off all her comments, and it just makes me wonder, how are you able to risk your life, your record, you know, your family, just to have this image on social media that is completely false?
Part 7.
It's a farce, bro. I've said it before, I'll say it again, man. Social media, people, they want you to see things that they control. So you don't really know what's going on behind the picture, man. It's like sleight of hand. It's all a trick. Social media, bro. People seekers, man. Wake up.
79 of some of the creepiest submechanophobia things I've ever seen. This is a gigantic dragon that is in water in Efteling again. His name is Joris de Draak, which loosely translates to George and the Dragon. I don't know why. This is just the dragon. Where the hell is George? Dutch really makes no sense sometimes. But yeah, this gigantic animatronic is sitting in like this bog, in like this swamp. Someone come get Donkey and come get his girlfriend out of here. If you don't like Shrek, I don't like you. Also, bro's neck looks like a Christmas tree. Here's another terrifying photo of it. Can you imagine falling in this dirty water with this gigantic moving dragon that spits fire? I couldn't. Also, you actually see it when you're on a roller coaster. So you can either see it when you're walking on the path, or if you're on a roller coaster and you go right past it. I'd be screaming for 2 reasons. The video I have doesn't show it in the actual water, but it shows it breathing fire, and it is very creepy the way it moves. So let me know how you would feel if you were to fall in the water, or even just see this thing normally. I wouldn't like it at all.
Me either. It's not really affecting me though. They said some people was creeped out by it. I don't think it really got to me. It's still scary though. That's the edit, man. Come on. We see through that.
There is something, though, that I have to tell you that I have not told you throughout this entire documentary. There's a reason why Nico knows so much about human sacrifice and the power of human blood. I'm gonna let Nico explain all this to you himself.
I went there, and he opened the door, I stepped inside, he closed the door, that's when I pulled out the handgun and I shot him in the face. He fell down and I shot him a few other times in the skull. And it lasted 15 minutes more or less before he actually died because they were small caliber bullets.
That's right, Nico is one of the most famous convicted murderers in all of France, nicknamed the Vampire of Paris, because he used to consume human flesh and drink human blood.
I'm Nico Clo, and I was born 52 years ago in Cameroon in Africa. My father...
Liam's case reminds me of Elisa Lam. There was an update showing the surveillance footage. This footage gives off a very strange and eerie vibe, and people are comparing it to Elisa Lam. His behavior in the footage seems very odd and confusing. Similarly to what happened at the Cecil Hotel. In both, something feels very off and unexplained. Also, of course, I'm not trying to make light of any tragedies, like this is really sad, I'm just talking about what's going on. The Cecil Hotel is infamous for its history of unexplained death, criminal activity, eerie events, and this viral footage of Elisa Lam in the elevator before her mysterious death. It's become a symbol for conspiracies and urban legends and just mystery. The surveillance footage in both cases are leaving people wondering what happened before and after the cameras caught the moment, because in both, everybody's saying something is off. Cecil Hotel is famous for all of the history of creepy and mysterious things happening there, and that's why people are really curious about it. In the same way, when a celebrity like Liam starts acting strangely, it catches a lot of people's attention. Do you think something deeper is going on? Hit the plus for more conspiracies. It really helps when you interact.
When I tell
What's
you
going
this
on with
story,
Cecil
the
Hotel?
Muslim subreddit kept me up all night. First of all, posted anonymously, but it's from a child psychiatrist living out in New York City. Now, he claimed he had an experience in the middle of the night when he woke up. He said he found a child scratching at his apartment window with bloodied fingers, which, as unnerving as it is, he had chalked it up as maybe some kind of creepy anomaly. However, the following night when he woke up in his bedroom, he sensed some kind of a presence in the room. When he turned over in his bed, he came face to face with the same boy who was staring at him from the edge of his bed. So somehow this boy had broken into the apartment, and he eventually led the psychiatrist to his home in the city, which happened to be a foster home. And as it turns out, he had been returned from a number of foster families who all thought there was something wrong with him. Eerie coincidence, the next day this psychiatrist finds out he is appointed to the boy as his patient. It was like this child was stalking the guy. And if you gotta know what happens next, this is the opening plot for Before, now streaming on Apple TV.
Stillwater. I can't believe I've been making these videos for almost 5 months, and I have not talked about the terror of Stillwater. By the way, I am very sick right now, so if I sound like a frog, that's why. Stillwater is one of the most terrifying things, especially to me, but in general, it is very, very dangerous and filled with millions of microorganisms, including brain-eating parasites. You don't want to ever fall in this. Oh, and by the way, those stairs being under the water like that for I don't even know how long, if you were to go on those stairs, they would immediately break with the weight of your body, and you would crash down and be in that water with all of that underwater stuff. Underwater mechanics, underwater stairs, no thank you. Who wants to go in the Stillwater Ussy? Not me. This is an abandoned pool that I found a picture of. Look at all the lovely infectious diseases just chilling on top like that. Here's some more images to music. How do you feel about all these?
Not I. I will not be going to brain eating amoeba. They need to freaking put like a warning sign Oh,
when I tell you this story on the No Sleep subreddit kept me up all night. First of all, posted anonymously, but it's from a child psychiatrist living out in New York City. Now, he claimed he had an experience in the middle of the night when he woke up. He said he found a child scratching at his apartment window with bloodied fingers, which, as unnerving as it is, he had chalked it up as maybe some kind of creepy anomaly. However, the following night when he woke up in his bedroom, he sensed some kind of a presence in the room. When he turned over in his bed, he came face to face with the same boy who was staring at him from the edge of his bed. So somehow this boy had broken into the apartment, and he eventually led the psychiatrist to his home in the city, which happened to be a foster home. And as it turns out, he had been returned from a number of foster families who all thought there was something wrong with him. Eerie coincidence, the next day this psychiatrist finds out he is appointed to the boy as his patient. It was like this child was stalking the guy. And if you gotta know what happens next, this is the opening plot for Before, now streaming on Apple TV.
Should I check that out?
Dangerous man on earth dubbed as the White Masked Man. There is some creepy ass stuff going on in Mexico at the moment. You may have seen this video a long time ago. Now you probably remember at the start of the year and last year when we had the whole urban legend and talk about the Serbian dancing lady. This is quite similar, but there's something really creepy about it. But this guy has actually been in the headlines for quite some time when he broke into the news back in 2023. Now this white man is often spotted around the streets of Mexico, just walking around, never wearing anything different. He lurks around and has what looks like blood coming from his mouth non-stop. Now you would think this is just a Halloween costume, but he has been wearing this every single day for nearly 2 years now. One night, apparently a young girl was just doing a jog through her town in the evening. She spotted this guy on the other side of the road just stood there, waving and staring at her. As far as we know, he hasn't actually committed any crimes, but we actually don't know. And many people are saying he's taking a lot of inspiration from the Terrifier. Is it just a guy who is cosplaying, or is it something a lot more disturbing? And what the hell is bro eating?
Yeah, what was in bro's mouth, man? I do not know. It looked like he was foaming at the damn mouth. And it did seem like he looked like Art the Clown. Don't let those other eggs get to his head, man. That's an edit.
Crazy things happening in the world right now. This wanted fugitive from an Ohio case 20 years ago was found working as a police officer. The New Zealand airport just put a 3-minute time limit on all goodbye hugs. A couple made guests buy $300 tickets to attend their wedding. This woman ran over her boyfriend while going to couples therapy. A family was told that their daughter had checked out of a hospital, but in reality she had passed away. An Alaska Airlines flight was turned around after the pilot admitted that he was not certified to land the plane. NAI model changed its own code in order to give itself more time. A 3D printed community in Texas is almost finished. A man threatened a Burger King worker after not taking drugs as payment and got 143 years in prison. A Chipotle employee says that their boss chased him out with a gun for not taking out the trash. Utility companies in Louisiana want state regulators to allow them to fine customers for lost profits from energy efficiency initiatives.
That doesn't even make sense.
Were the parents of Kelly Marvera in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. One night a house fire broke out and authorities told the parents that their 10-day-old baby Delimar had perished in the fire. And it wasn't until 6 years later that Luce was at a birthday party and saw a little girl named Aaliyah and instantly had a gut feeling that it was actually her child. Luce grabbed a strand of the girl's hair and sent it off to the police for DNA testing, which later confirmed that it was her daughter Delimar. Caroline Correa, who was a distant friend of a family member, was charged and found guilty of kidnapping and arson. She was living with Delimar just 15 miles away in New Jersey. Correa was sentenced to life in prison. Delimar was returned to her real family and now at 26 years old is speaking out in a 3-part documentary to explain what life was like coping with a brand new family.
Someone made a...
Imagine, man, you think your daughter or your child is going through that pain and going at a random birthday party, having a gut feeling, and finding out that, bro, one of your friends took your child. I can't even imagine what that's like, man. This world, some bizarre things goes on.
A Punch-Out style horror game, and it's absolutely free. Let's talk about Porkbound. This is one of the strangest horror games I've played all year, but it actually works. And it really is like Mike Tyson's Punch-Out as a horror game. You play as a young boxer named Aaron who works on his family's pig farm. And not only is he dealing with bullies like here, he's dealing with the death of his brother. But one night, the bullies actually show up to the pig farm to further taunt Aaron. And then everything starts to go wrong. What is happening to the pigs, and why do they look like this? What follows is a series of Punch-Out style boss fights with more and more disturbing looking pig-like creatures. And when I say Punch-Out, I really do mean Punch-Out. The game plays basically exactly the same way, but as you're beating the bosses, there's a greater story to uncover. Now, I do have a full playthrough of this game on my channel if you're interested, so I don't want to spoil the story here, but the game is also free, so I definitely encourage you to check it out for yourself.
Punch-Out? Talking about the possible serial killer in Grand Junction, Colorado, let me tell you about one of their most infamous murder cases. The Blacks were a picture-perfect family of born-again Christians until November 13th, 2001, when Michael came home to a pool of blood. His wife Jennifer and 6-year-old daughter Abby missing. The back door was left open, Jennifer's purse was spilled out on the floor, and her jewelry was missing. But when authorities looked at the crime scene, something was off. If a stranger had broken into their home, why would they leave items of value behind, like guns and cash? And why would they move the bodies in Jennifer's van and return it to the family's garage? In May the following year, investigators start digging through the Mesa County landfill. And after removing 3,000 tons of trash, they find the mummified remains of Jennifer Black, wrapped in a tent and surrounded by trash from her husband's workplace. Michael was convicted for only his wife's murder in 2004, but 13 years later he got a second shot at freedom. It turns out a juror lied on her questionnaire about being a victim of DV. In 2018 he got the same result, life in prison without the possibility of parole. And despite being convicted twice, he refuses to reveal the location of his 6-year-old daughter Abby. It's believed her remains are still...
Disgusting, man. Truly. Be your own blood. Heartbreaking story. That's sad, man.
What if I told you that the Church of England banned Christmas in 1647? Well, you can't spell Santa without Satan. So, is Santa Claus really Satan, the devil in disguise? Think about it. Do you really believe people just made up a story about a 350-pound man stuffing himself down your chimney? No. The World Book Encyclopedia admits that this concept originated from the Norse legend of Hertha, a so-called goddess who would appear in fireplaces to bring good luck to the home. A devilish spirit could easily pass through a chimney in a fireplace, right? And it doesn't stop there. Druid homeowners would leave treats, milk, and pastries to appease this god who came down their chimneys. Sound familiar? That's right, it's all about worship. Even today, many religions leave milk and food in front of their idols. Now let's talk about stockings, leaving them out for Santa. This tradition is eerily similar to witchcraft practices, where socks or personal items are used in spells to target the victim. Just like how, as kids, we're told to leave teeth out for the tooth fairy. It's the same trap. So, yes, Santa will leave you some great gifts in your stockings, for sure. Oh, and here's the kicker. The word Santa is a true anagram of Satan. Yet many people believe Santa Claus is based on a priest named Saint Nicholas. But guess what? That priest never even existed. The Second Vatican Council in the 1970s openly admitted it was all a fabrication. And don't forget, people used to call the devil Old Nick. They're rubbing it right in your face. Some speculate this nickname comes from German and Scandinavian words, starting with Nick, which were used for dangerous supernatural creatures. So, who's really coming down your chimney this Christmas? Follow my backup account and leave a comment for part 2, because there's more to this than meets the eye. I'm going to go ahead and say this is just a joke for entertainment purposes.
Samedi is a central figure in Haitian Vodou and is widely recognized as one of the most prominent Loa within the religion. He holds a distinct and powerful presence in Vodou ceremonies and rituals, particularly those related to death, the afterlife, and healing. As the head of the Jean family of spirits, Baron Samedi is associated with the realm of the dead. He is often depicted as a skeletal figure wearing formal attire, including a black tailcoat, top hat, and sunglasses. His appearance embodies a combination of elegance and macabre, reflecting his role as the intermediary between the living and the spirit world. Baron Samedi's character is marked by irreverence, humor, and a fondness for indulgence. He is known for his crude jokes, bawdy behavior, and love of rum and cigars. Despite his lighthearted personality, he possesses great wisdom and spiritual power, offering guidance and protection to those who seek his assistance. In voodoo ceremonies, Baron Samedi is called upon to facilitate communication with the ancestors and guide the souls of the deceased into the afterlife. He is also associated with fertility and healing, and his presence is believed to bring about transformation and renewal. Baron Samedi's significance extends beyond the realm of voodoo. His image and symbolism have permeated popular culture, making appearances in various forms of media, including films, literature, and art. His distinctive appearance and intriguing persona continue to captivate and fascinate both practitioners of voodoo and those with an interest in the occult and spiritual realms.
What do you guys think about all the information we just digested? Looks like it was used for some ceremonies, some voodoo ceremonies. Would you guys, I guess, call upon him on that type of ceremony?
Haitian folklores, mermen are called simbis. They are water spirits with dominion over moisture, rain, springs, ponds, wells, marshes. They control river currents and running fresh water. They are powerful sorcerer, shapeshifters, sensual, alluring, and seductive.
Do y'all remember?
It just sounded like they were the freaking pictures that were putting on the screen. These clips, man, made it seem like they were some basically like some male mermaids that had all power control over the water. Or they said they were shapeshifters, so that's, I guess, the main shape they were just shifting into. My best guess, Seekers? Like I said, we're still on a different side of TikTok today, so if you guys know anything about that, man, I'm always open to learning down below.
The story where the white girl, she was 19 years old, named Caitlin Reston, where she called a spiritual deity Papa Legba. Now, if any of y'all know a little bit about it, even if you watch American Horror Story, you know you wouldn't call on him on your worst day. His depiction in American Horror Story is not the reality of what he does, but I think this goes without saying that you should not practice any kind of witchcraft if you are not properly introduced, I guess. So just a little background of Papa. Papa is like a spiritual god, and it meets people at the crossroad. He is a symbol of communication, and he looks like a frail old man. A dog is also a symbol of him. But anywho, Caitlin decided to practice this allegedly, and many people were telling her not to. I believe one day she got upset with her girlfriend and decided to like cast some type of spell on her, and it didn't work. There were like images of her and her little voodoo dolls and cults and all that stuff, and she was saying that she was awakened. But after she casted that spell towards her girlfriend, who I believe was black, I don't know, it backfired. She started seeing things and stating that she thinks she saw him, and she was like tweeting these things and writing these things out for the public to see. But on April 19th, 2020, Caitlin would mysteriously drown in a bathtub, and she leaves behind, or left behind, her daughter. Honestly, I don't even know what to say about this. There were many accounts where people who actually practiced what she was trying to do was saying that she probably met someone similar to Papa Legba in image. However, it was a worse spirit or spirit god. See, this is why I'm not playing. No, ma'am. What do y'all think? Let me know what y'all think in the comments below.
What do you guys think, man? I don't practice witchcraft, so I don't know.
Everybody knows Anansi.
None of that stuff.
He's tricksters in all mythology and folklore. Bet you didn't know that Anansi, along with a few other people like Mami Wada, came to the Caribbean and had their own adventures. Story comes from Haiti, and it's called Anansi and the President. So after one too many pranks, the president of Haiti is like, look, Anansi, I don't ever want to see your face again. And one day while walking down the street, a bunch of people are saluting the president in line. And then there's someone sticking their butt out at him. President storms over and finds that it's Anansi, and he goes, "What are you doing?" And Anansi says, "Look, you told me to never show my face to you, so I'm showing you my butt." President says, "Anansi, I don't ever want to see you again, clothed or naked." The next day, the president's walking down the street, and he sees Anansi, butt naked, but covered in a fishnet. President loses it and goes, "What are you doing?" And Anansi says, "You didn't want to see me clothed or naked, so this is both." President says, "If you ever step foot on this soil again, I'm gonna shoot you." Anansi heads over to Jamaica, puts a bunch of dirt in his shoes, and then comes back to Haiti. And the Haitian president's like, "What are you doing here?" And Anansi looks at him and smiles and says, "I'm technically not on Haitian soil." Having been completely embarrassed, the president decides to leave Anansi alone. There's being petty and then being Anansi petty. God, I love that story. Hope you enjoyed the story, everyone. Happy Black History Month, and have a magical day.
That was a whole story, man. It seems like he kept finding loopholes after loopholes, bro. He was like one upping him every single time, man. He kept finding the loophole through the his rules. Honestly, man, this was smart. Just kept one up with him.
We know all sorts of mythology and folklore, but do you know your Haitian folklore? I do, and I'm gonna share one with you today.
Okay.
We're starting off this series kind of grim. So today's lesson, the singing bone. So deep in the woods of Haiti, there was this man, we're gonna call him Bob. He had a son called Jacob. Now Bob had a hard time with women, right? So his first wife, Jacob's mother, died, and then he went out on the scene looking for a woman. He found a new woman. We're gonna call her Margaret. She doesn't stay long. They got together and had a second child. We're gonna name him Mario. So we have Bob, Jacob, and Mario. Margaret dies. Away with her. So now we have Bob and his two sons, the older Jacob, the youngest Mario, and Bob is still looking for a woman. It's traditional that in Haiti that the men go out to work and the women usually take care of the domestic household. So he's looking for a wife. So one day he goes and finds this really mean and ugly lady. We're gonna call her Chantal. I got beef with one of my people named Chantal. She kind of traumatized me as a kid, so we gonna call her Chantal. Reparations, homie. But anyway, Chantal may have been bitter and mean, but she was a wonderful wife. She cooked, she cleaned, and did everything for Bob, and she took care of Jacob and Mario, though she did not like them really. So one day Bob goes to work, and Chantal, being the devious and mean lady that she is, looks up to the two sons, and she calls them to the kitchen. So they come. So Chantal goes, "Hey boys, I need both of you to go out and look for sticks for us to start getting the food ready. Whoever brings me the biggest stick will have an extra piece of meat on their plate, and everybody likes meat."
Okay.
So both Jacob and Mario got their sapats ready to go out and get some stick. Jacob ended up leaving first because he's the oldest, he knows what he's doing. But before Mario could get out the door, Chantal grabbed him, just like that, snatched. Chantal ends up unaliving Mario, cutting him to pieces, oh my goodness, and basically cooking him for the family. When Jacob returns, he doesn't see Mario, he assumes that Mario's getting more stick. At the end of the day, Bob returns and Chantal gives Bob his food, which includes Mario. Bob eats all the food, delicious, right? And then he ends up leaving a bone, just the last piece of bone, a big chunk of bone, and he throws it under a tree. Now, Jacob is like, okay, Mario's missing, we haven't seen Mario, and the whole family's kind of worried. Chantal's worried too. And as Jacob goes out to find Mario, he goes next to this bone, right, the bone that the father left out, and the bone starts singing to him. And the song basically goes, "Oh brother, my brother, please help me. My stepmother cooked me, my father ate me, and now I'm left to rot under the tree." Now, Jacob, you know, he's mentally stable, so he's like, I'm not tripping, so this bone is singing to me, what's going on? He goes closer to the bone, and the bone sings again, same thing verbatim. "Oh brother, my brother, help me. My stepmother cooked me, my father ate me, and now I'm left to rot under this tree." Jacob immediately peeped what's going on, because again, that man got a brain on him. So he runs to the father, and he says, "We have an emergency. I think your wife, Chantal, cooked your son." And the father's like, part two.
God damn. These part twos, man, be killing me, bro. It's an old folklore story, man. We can look that up, Seekers, man. Or if anybody knows the ending. Follow me on social, you can DM it to me.
This is something that's definitely not talked about enough, but we're going to talk about it today. Mermaids are absolutely real and absolutely demonic. The book of Genesis says that the sons of God came into the daughters of men and begat giants. This means that fallen angels were having sex with human women, and those women produced what we know as giants or Goliath and different things like that. The book of Enoch, which is actually quoted in the Bible, says that the women that agreed to sleep with the fallen angels ended up becoming sirens. Sirens are what we know as mermaids and also seducing spirits. These spirits dwell in the water and even have a kingdom, which is where we get the concept of Atlantis. It gets super deep. I'm going to have to do a few more videos on this. Regardless, Jesus is the answer in order to be delivered from them.
She was putting those pieces together, man, and it makes sense about where, you know, Atlantis come from. I guess how it came from that old, it came from the lore, not the lore, but you know, just the old stories like that. The only thing that got to me was since you said the fallen angels was having, you know, I guess relations with the woman, and they would turn into mermaids. So that's how the mermaids in Silence, that's how they came to be, because they was meeting with angels. That's my first time hearing that, so freaking working my brain, bro.
I hope you're ready for another Haitian folklore. That was so creepy. Okay, today's folklore has no demons, no crazy stuff, right? It's a good folklore.
Alright.
Pristine and simple. It's called the case of the uncooked eggs. It's kind of like the magic beans, but with more logic than magic. Alright, so there was a poor woman, and we're gonna name her Martha. And Martha lived in a small hut on the side of a town, and we're gonna call the town that she lives in Gonaïves. Gonaïves is a special city in Haiti. One day a soldier's walking through the town, and he sees Martha, and he basically asks her for some lodging. You know, can I stay at yours for a day or two? And Martha's like, yeah, sure, no problem. And we're gonna call the soldier Elon, after exactly who you think. So Martha offers great lodging to Elon, and she feeds him and she washes his clothes. He has a wonderful time there, and he's so grateful for her services that when he leaves, right before he does so, he gives her 3 large eggs, and he departs on his way. Martha takes a look at the eggs, and she was about to cook them to make herself some food, but then she sees that they're like longer on one side, so she's like, no, my ancestors are telling me something bigger is here. So instead, she doesn't cook them, and she just waits for them to hatch into whatever animal they're going to hatch into. And huzzah, 3 days later, they hatch into 3 large red hens. And so she's like, oh, word. So she sells the 3 red hens for $5. And remember, this is all the way back in the days when people actually had a decent quality of living or something, I don't know. And so she sells them for $5. With the $5, she buys 2 little pigs. Cute. With the 2 little pigs, she trades them for a goat. And with the goat, she trades it for a cow. And so the cow grows older and becomes an ox. And so with that cow producing milk, she then begins to sell milk, and now she's able to have money for seeds, and she begins to farm, and she just makes a real good living with herself. She changes her hut into a nice little house. She just has it going on, okay? You gotta listen to your gut. You gotta listen to your gut. So 5 years later, Martha is doing well for herself. And when I say well for herself, she's not crazy like a billionaire. She's just doing enough to take care of herself and her community. So Elon's looking for Martha again. And Elon's like, yeah, that was a nice lady. I enjoyed my time with her. Where is she? Where is she? And then he sees Martha. And Martha's like, oh my goodness. Boy, I'm so happy to see you. Thanks to you, my life has changed. Look at my farm. Look at my little house. Look at my cows. Look at my chicken. After she showed him around, she made him a large meal, and he stayed with her for the next 5 days. And during those 5 days, she treated him like royalty. The best of the best. But I named him Elon for a reason. Let's see what happens.
Why she named him Elon? Like, what the heck? We know what that's for. You gotta find part 2 to those stories. You're like, what the hell? With a different Papillon, what the hell is that? Zombie? I guess those are different stories in the freaking Haitian folklore. Crazy, man. YouTube, if you guys made it with me to the end of the video, you're a true seeker seeking the truth, man. I really appreciate the support. Like I said, we kind of explored a different side of TikTok today, man. I wanted to switch it up. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it, man. We could check out some more videos and things like that, man. Like I said, tell me down below, man. Like I said, if you guys want me to start a Discord or something, man, just so you guys can send me you guys clips of what you guys want me to react to. Because like I said, there's a whole bunch of clips, you know, sometimes, so I'll probably miss some things, man. Y'all can just send it to me. And yeah, man, do daily uploads every single day for you guys, so always make sure to check out the channel for a banger. You guys gonna catch you in the next one, man. I'm out. Peace, YouTube.